Have you ever had the strange feeling that something much bigger is happening in the world, but no one talks about it? It's not just your imagination. There is a silent transition, invisible to the eye, but it's changing everything, from the way we think to the very structures that govern our lives. And the scariest part? They know. And they are afraid. We are entering the so-called Age of Aquarius. But unlike what you've been told in horoscopes or those Zen videos out there, this new era isn't just about peace, crystals, and hugging trees. It's an energetic revolution that threatens to break centuries of control, manipulation, and spiritual anesthesia. A vibrational shift so profound it can tear off social masks and reveal what many have never wanted to expose, the truth. And that's exactly why there's so much noise. So much distraction. So many conflicting narratives. Because the more you awaken, the more dangerous you become. Dangerous to the systems that profit from your ignorance. Dangerous to those who control through the frequency of fear. Dangerous to those who know that once collective consciousness rises, it can no longer be contained. In this video, you'll understand why this awakening is so feared by the elites, how quantum physics and spirituality are merging to set you free, and what you need to do now to break out of the manipulation cycle and reclaim your power as a co-creator. If you feel like you're here for a greater reason, then this message is for you. And maybe, you're closer to the truth than you think. There is something in the air you can't see, but you can feel it. Like an invisible current blowing in a new direction. People all over the world are sensing a subtle yet profound shift, as if something is being reconfigured both inside and out. This collective feeling of transition is no coincidence. We are crossing a vibrational threshold, the Age of Aquarius. And contrary to popular belief, this isn't just about constellations in the sky, it's about an energetic revolution that demands a new frequency of being from each of us. Astrology, long dismissed as magazine entertainment, is in truth a symbolic map of consciousness evolution. It's not about trivial predictions, but archetypes that guide deep movements in the fabric of reality. The Age of Pisces, for example, upheld blind faith, hierarchical institutions, and the idea of salvation by something or someone external. Now, Aquarius arrives with a radically different proposal: spiritual autonomy and conscious co-creation with the universe. This energy shift isn't as gentle as a sunset, it's more like a silent earthquake. Discomfort, existential crises, deep questioning, all are natural parts of the process. They're not signs of personal failure, but symptoms of a planetary frequency adjustment. When you feel out of sync with the world, perhaps you're actually realigning with an inner truth long suppressed. Many still dismiss it all as woo-woo, but look around, institutions are crumbling, old paradigms no longer answer our questions, and the search for real meaning has never been more urgent. Aquarius calls us into energetic consciousness, not as a theoretical concept, but as a daily practice. The shift is in recognizing yourself as a co-creator of your reality field, not a passive victim of a broken system. It takes courage, but it opens doors that were once sealed. Start small. Get into the habit of observing your thoughts like you observe the sky, without judgment, simply noticing recurring patterns. This alone begins to shift your vibration. Want to go deeper? Try guided meditations focused on presence and self-awareness. Insight Timer offers great free options, or dive into books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The Age of Aquarius begins within, not above. Perhaps most importantly, know that you are not alone. A conscious network is emerging across the globe, made up of people who have removed their social masks and chosen to live in greater personal truth. People like you, who feel something is wrong with the old world, but don't yet know what comes next. This is where ancient calendars and ancestral wisdom come into play. Many people still view time as a straight line, past, present, future, but the oldest traditions understood that time moves in spirals. The Maya, for example, used calendars to mark complex cosmic cycles, not doomsday dates. The Vedic tradition spoke of the yugas, vast ages that repeat in patterns. This changes everything. Because if time is cyclical, then we are reliving challenges and opportunities that have already occurred, only at a different frequency. Archetypal astrology is based on this cosmic spiral. Each of the 12 zodiac ages spans about 2,160 years, totaling around 25,920 years to complete one cosmic year. And we're not talking about generic horoscopes, but immense waves of consciousness that shape entire civilizations. The Age of Leo was marked by sun-worshipping empires. Taurus brought earth-based spirituality. Pisces ushered in faith and sacrifice. Aquarius now signals innovation, energetic awareness, and global reconnection. With this lens, ancient myths are no longer just stories for children, they're codes. The serpent eating its own tail, the 12 labors of Hercules, lunar cycles, these are symbolic languages describing the energetic portals we pass through. If we look deeper, we see that the universe communicates through frequency, vibration, and synchronicity, not just words. We only need to be present to hear it. This new age didn't begin with fireworks or breaking news. There's no exact calendar date, because the shift is vibrational, not chronological. It began when the first awakened ones started questioning their lives, when they felt the dissonance between what they lived and what they felt. It's like a new song playing in a noisy room. At first, few hear it. But gradually, more and more people turn toward it, and the old noise starts to fade. Have you noticed that despite having all the world's information at our fingertips, we're more disconnected from inner truth than ever? That's because the planet's frequency has changed, but many are still tuned into the old broadcast. It's like trying to use a 1998 cell phone on a 5G network. The Age of Aquarius demands a new frequency. And this realignment begins with quantum education of consciousness, where science, myth, and spirituality don't compete but integrate like pieces of the same puzzle. That's why so many people are feeling anxiety, insomnia, and unexplained crises. These symptoms aren't random, they reflect bodies trying to adapt to a new vibration. But relax, you're not breaking down. You're waking up. And this collective awakening doesn't happen quietly or neatly. So before labeling it weakness, consider that it may actually be a call to take the next step. Waking up at 3 a.m. with a racing heart, feeling a nameless anguish, or realizing that things that once made sense now feel dull and colorless, these are just a few symptoms of what many call collapse, but which is, in fact, a clear sign of awakening. We are witnessing an energetic revolution that begins from within, not with external explosions. What looks like chaos is often just the soul trying to reconnect with its original frequency. The structures of modern society are collapsing before our eyes. Politicians look increasingly like caricatures, religions resemble markets of promises, and economies fluctuate as if guided by the mood of a whimsical god. This isn't random. The Age of Aquarius is clearing the stage. The old script, based on control, fear, and external salvation, no longer serves. And the breakdown of institutions is the most direct way to push us back to our inner truth. In the middle of this storm, many feel a strange pull, to leave a stable job, move to a new city, and long-standing relationships. It may seem like madness, but it isn't. It's the inner co-creator awakening, declaring that the old frequency no longer fits the new vibrational field. Aquarius does not tolerate social masks. It demands authentic presence, even if that means dismantling everything that once felt safe. It's painful, but necessary. And deeply liberating. Just look at how many people are now exploring archetypal astrology, integrative therapies, quantum physics, or even silent retreats. This isn't a trend, it's a symptom. We're at a stage where ordinary senses are no longer enough to answer life's big questions. And when logic fails, the heart begins to scream. That's when self-knowledge becomes a survival tool, not a spiritual luxury. Books like Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by David R. Hawkins or A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle serve as guides through this process. Deprogramming happens in layers. First, the shock. then, the void. Finally, the reconstruction. Many get lost between the second and third phases, thinking they've gone mad. But it's only the old self screaming because it doesn't want to die. The good news is, you don't need to understand everything right now. You just need to trust that there's intelligence behind the collapse. And that each symptom carries a message, if you're willing to listen with your heart, not just your ears. So what to do amid all this? Aquarius responds, transform yourself. Use the collapse as fuel for transmutation. Create reconnection routines, change your consumption habits, dive into energetic practices like conscious breathing, vibrational journaling, or sound baths. Because when science and spirituality look each other in the eye, the impossible begins to make sense. For a long time, we were told that faith and reason were enemies. That scientists had to reject the invisible, and spiritual seekers had to avoid logic. But something extraordinary is happening now. Quantum physics, neuroscience, and spirituality are starting to dance to the same rhythm. When Deepak Chopra speaks of consciousness as the fabric of the universe, or when Joe Dispenza teaches how to change your biology through thoughts and emotions, we are no longer speaking of belief, but energetic evidence. The quantum field is a measurable reality. And within it, everything vibrates. Everything. Including you. The HeartMath Institute, for example, has proven that the heart generates an electromagnetic field 60 times more powerful than the brain's, and that it constantly communicates with this invisible field. This means your emotions are literally shaping the reality around you. You are an active co-creator of your experience. Not a passenger, an actual pilot. Bruce Lipton, author of The Biology of Belief, showed that our DNA does not determine everything, as we once thought. Epigenetics reveals that environment, thoughts, and emotions directly influence our genes. In other words, by raising your frequency, through gratitude, meditation, or presence, you literally reprogram your body's biology. This is quantum education in action. The victim dies, and the inner master is born. And speaking of meditation, don't imagine something too mystical. We're talking about a practice increasingly backed by science. Just 10 minutes a day can alter brain waves, activate heart coherence, and shift how your body processes stress. Try simple techniques like Joe Dispenza's guided meditations or the binaural sounds of Jonathan Goldman. The secret is not complexity, but consistency of frequency. Another fascinating point is intuition, long considered too subjective to be taken seriously. Today, scientists are studying how the body responds to stimuli even before the brain processes them. Spirituality has known this for millennia. The difference now is that we can measure it. And when science confirms that altered states of consciousness, like those induced by holotropic breathwork, connect us to deep levels of self-awareness, everything changes. Perhaps it is this very integration of science and spirituality that is shaping the new civilization. It's no longer about belief or doubt, but experience. And when lived with presence and openness, this experience reveals a deeper path. One where self-knowledge is no longer just an invitation, but an urgent necessity. We've spent too long inside a collective theater. We learned to applaud what we were told was right, to wear the social masks that made us feel safe, and to play roles that had nothing to do with who we really are. But now, that theater is collapsing. And the curtain that falls reveals a new stage, that of inner truth. The Age of Aquarius doesn't want actors, it wants authentic beings, aligned with their own frequency and the planet's energetic consciousness. Traditional education, designed to teach obedience, competition, and repetition, is being challenged. Emotional intelligence, contemplative practices, and quantum education have never been discussed so widely. And that's not a coincidence. The new civilization that is emerging demands a strong mind, but also an awakened heart. It's as if we are shifting from a model based on control to one based on presence. And this requires an inner revolution that begins with self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is not a weekend retreat posted on Instagram. It's the courage to look within, to face your shadows, and integrate what was once denied. It's when you stop chasing external validation and begin living from your personal truth. A great start is journaling, writing every day about your feelings, without filters. Another step is conscious breathing. 3 minutes a day already helps silence the mind and hear your true self. And what's most interesting is that through this process, you begin to meet others on the same frequency. It's as if an invisible network is forming. A conscious network. People who are no longer satisfied with ready-made answers. Who want to feel, experience, co-create. This awakened community is emerging everywhere, from esoteric forums to study groups on quantum physics. When you connect to this network, the journey is no longer solitary, it starts to make sense. Raw authenticity, the kind that doesn't try to please, is revolutionary. Because it breaks the system. When you are true to yourself, you deprogram what was taught and activate a field of freedom. And this freedom isn't anarchic, it's conscious. It demands responsibility. But it is in that space that the power of co-creation lives, the vibration aligned with truth, the next step out of autopilot and into intentional living. And it's no coincidence that this is happening now. The planet's vibrational field is accelerating, and those who don't keep up may feel increasingly disconnected, anxious, and lost. This is where the urgency to change begins, not because it's trendy, but because it's necessary. And from this new awareness, a powerful invitation emerges. Imagine that you are the exact point where science and spirituality meet. A living node of integration between the visible and the invisible. That's the new paradigm. In it, you are no longer just body, mind, or spirit, you are all of it, in sync. It's as if the universe were saying, stop fragmenting yourself. The Age of Aquarius is calling for a new kind of presence, where energetic consciousness shows up in everyday actions. This new world cannot be built with old tools. We need new ways to heal the body, educate the mind, and nourish relationships. Vibrational medicine is advancing with the use of sound frequencies, chromotherapy, and neuroplasticity. Quantum education is beginning to include meditation and mindfulness in schools. All of this points to one destination: integration. Because a new civilization needs whole beings, not just fragmented specialists. But to live this integration, you must break away from the conditioned self, the one that learned to please, to hide, to survive. That persona must be recognized and slowly dismantled. Reconnecting with the original self requires silence, courage, and daily practice. A good path is to explore authors like Ramana Maharshi or G.I. Gurdjieff, who teach techniques for observing the self with raw attention, free of judgment. That's the beginning of true freedom. Through this reconnection, life gains a new texture. Problems don't disappear, but they become invitations. Pain doesn't stop, but it gains purpose. Relationships transform, from unconscious contracts of dependency to conscious alliances of expansion. A practical example? Start noticing which relationships today drain your energy. Then reflect, am I in this out of fear or genuine frequency? That simple question alone can alter your field. The frequency you emit now is your energetic signature. And it's shaping your reality. If you wake up each day on autopilot, immersed in habits that don't match your truth, the universe assumes that's what you want to keep repeating. But if you consciously alter your routine, by including gratitude, presence, affirmations, and aligned choices, you begin to reprogram the matrix in which your life unfolds. That is energetic revolution in action. And this new paradigm is not some distant utopia. It's already happening, in conscious communities, alternative schools, clinics using tuning forks instead of pills, and gatherings where silence says more than words. And as we become aware of all this, an inevitable question arises within those who are awakening. There comes a moment when the universe stops whispering and starts screaming. And that scream often shows up as a deep discomfort. The job that once felt ideal now suffocates you, the relationship that gave you security starts to weigh you down, even your reflection feels unfamiliar. That's the call. It's not a crisis, it's an invitation. A vibrational calling urging you to step out of the cave of conformity and into the frequency of authenticity. But answering that call takes courage. Courage to say no to what has already expired, even if it still looks functional. Courage to say yes to the void, the new, the unknown. Aquarius doesn't want you as a predictable piece on a board. It wants you to become the board itself. A being that rebuilds from within and begins living as the co-creator of their own reality. It's a daily practice of presence and reconnection with what resonates within you, not what's expected of you. This transformation is silent. It doesn't need social media posts or applause. It shows in your actions, when you choose meditation over complaining, when you prefer silence over empty arguments, when you seek your truth even if it makes others uncomfortable. That's how energetic revolution begins. A shift that happens through frequency, not noise. A change from the inside out, like a magnetic field that begins to attract synchronicities and repel falsehoods. Want a simple, powerful exercise? Grab a pen and paper and write, what in my life today is out of alignment with my truth? Write it all, uncensored. Then read it out loud. This practice activates energetic awareness and shows you where you're staying out of fear, and where you can already let go. If you want to go deeper, explore third eye activation guides or ebooks on applied quantum physics for personal transformation tools that help reorganize your vibration. And don't think you need to abandon everything overnight. Co-creation begins in the details. Change the way you start your day, filter the content you consume, pay attention to the words you repeat. All of this is vibration in motion. Every choice made with presence is a brick in the construction of a new energetic identity. A new self more aligned with your essence, freer from social programming, and more connected to the awakened community also walking this path. This journey, though it may feel solitary, is deeply shared on a vibrational level. We are all connected by invisible threads of frequency, forming a web that expands with each individual awakening. And the more people answer this call, the stronger that network becomes. That's when we begin to understand the true power of synchronicity and how each personal step, however small, already paves the way for the next collective leap. Reaching this point is, in itself, a sign that something inside you is ready for more. Because those still asleep rarely stay with content like this. And if something resonated with you throughout this journey, know this, it wasn't by chance. Synchronicity is the universe winking at you, saying you're on the right path. And now, more than ever, it's time to continue. To turn this knowledge into practice. To turn this vibration into conscious action. If something touched you, a phrase, an image, a thought, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Because every time you spread awareness, you strengthen the network. And yes, it exists. A silent but steady awakened community is forming. People like you, who already know the frequency of the old world, can no longer sustain their steps. Sharing this video, commenting on your experience, or simply sending it to someone who needs it, that too is part of co-creation. And if you want to continue on this journey, know that this is only the beginning. In future videos, we'll dive even deeper into themes like vibrational frequency, reconnection practices, applied spirituality, and quantum physics as a tool for personal transformation. Because to live in the age of Aquarius is to be in constant expansion. And each expansion opens new portals of consciousness, new possibilities, and yes, new challenges. But don't worry. You don't have to walk this path alone. Here, in this space, we are building a community. A vibrational support network that grows with each new member, each conscious click. And that's why I invite you, keep walking with us. Sometimes, all we need is a soft reminder that says, you are not alone. And this channel exists to be exactly that. So tell me, which part of this message touched you the most? What realization hit you? What doubt emerged? Write in the comments, not just as an expression, but as an act of activation. Sometimes, your words might be the next step in someone else's awakening. That's vibration. That's the conscious network. And that's what truly builds the new civilization. And if all of this still feels new to you, good. Because that's how every true awakening begins, with curiosity, with a bit of discomfort, and above all, with the desire to go beyond. And that beyond may be closer than you think. Maybe you don't have all the answers right now. But if something here touched you, even if it was subtle, then the shift has already begun. Not with a bang, but with a breath. With a silence that resonated differently. With a thought you won't be able to ignore anymore. Because once consciousness expands, it doesn't return to its former state. You might try to go back to how things were, but you'll notice, what once felt normal now seems strange. What used to be tolerable now feels uncomfortable. That's a sign your vibration is adjusting. That something inside you is starting to remember who you truly are. And it's okay if no one around you understands. If you feel a bit out of sync, like you're watching the world spin at the wrong tempo. That's part of it. You're tuning into a new frequency, and not everyone can hear that music at first. But over time, you'll find others who've also started to dance to the same rhythm. Without masks. Without pretending. Just presence. Maybe the greatest revolution is this, to change from within, in silence, without needing to prove anything to anyone. Just to be. And in that simplicity, begin radiating a new reality. You don't need to rush. You only need to keep going. One step at a time, one truth at a time, one frequency at a time. And if, as you close this video, you feel that different kind of silence, don't run from it. It's telling you that now, it's your turn.